Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about Malekith in Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires. Now Malekith has always been a strong legendary lord. It's just that he doesn't have the best campaign in Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires. I mean, he's got Grombrindle, he's got Valkia next to him. Not exactly the best campaign dynamic to be dealing with around here. By the way, that initial Skaven army, I strongly recommend you auto-resolve that particular battle, regardless of which difficulty you're fighting on, because you've got a Gracier leading that particular army, so when you fight him manually, he is actually going to use those spells, which can do quite a bit of damage to your troops. Though you will obviously take some damage on all your troops, including the Sorceress over here. Now, what you want to do is you want to start turning Naggaroth into a tier 2 settlement. You want to go to Harganeth and get the trade agreement and military access agreement, probably before fighting the battle. You want to go to Grond and you want to declare war on the Hmong. Nothing, no agreement, no non-aggression pact, nothing like that. You don't care about any of that. And you want to get various agreements with the various Dark Elven factions. Malekith is the best faction to confederate the minor Dark Elves with, which can give you a significant amount of power. Just keep in mind that the real prize over here is Hellebron. That said, Hellebron might be useful to keep as her own faction if you want her to deal with everyone in the east, and so you can focus on Wolfwan. One of the bad things about Malekith's campaign is that he does have a short campaign victory condition that requires him to go all the way to Lothern, which is... yeah, not exactly, I was going to a bit too far, but yeah, not exactly fantastic to cross all of this distance. And then fight Tyrion, who is an incredibly powerful faction. You could use the sea lane over here, teleport next to Morathi and go through there if you wanted to. That would be a viable strategy potentially. But yeah, there's going to be some problems. I would actually recommend sending a hero potentially for that sea lane, not for Morathi, but more so for the Scourge of Cain. Though you can obviously help Morathi deal with Astankia if you wanted to. So after your initial battle, diplomatic agreements, go over here and march on Hollow Cauldron. Make sure you have Root Marcher. I would recommend fighting this battle manually, and now I'm using some auto-resolve mods for the purposes of demonstration. Now, over here, you could obviously just loot and occupy the settlement, but it's better to sack a less public order impact. But as you can see, not enough movement range. Well, that's just solved. Remove the Sorceress, because she doesn't have enough movement range. And that is the issue solved. Start getting an Artisan House over here. And right here, what we're going to get is Rush... increased slave production quota, and we want, it's going to cost 400. Okay, now this is not going to work this turn, but that's no problem because it will work next turn. So this is probably the best thing. Like, you want to sack this element, you will get some regular dark shards over here. That's not really too big of an issue. I would get founded on tyranny. You don't have a money issue as Dark Elves, you have a slave issue as Dark Elves. And once all of this is done, right, get Fireball, all that good stuff. Once all of this, like, you can't attach the hero back in the army, unfortunately. Like, you can only do that once a turn. Once all of this is done, next turn, you will be able to get that barracks sorted out. So you will start to be able to recruit Dark Shards with shields. Like, you could just skip doing all of this, like rushing construction, but you do get those masters, so I would say those masters are useful. Now, this campaign, what it really wants you to do is go here to the west and fight Grombrindle. It's kind of pushing you for that. But you don't need to do so, like, in any way, shape, or form. Like, quite seriously, you don't need to go fight Grombrindle. In fact, Grombrindle could be your best friend. What you want to do, instead, is race against Valkia. It's quite serious. You want to race against Valkia for Grond. Now, you could build a second army to try and take the Altar of Ultimate Darkness before Grombrindle and sell it to him. Like, one of the things, like, one of the strategies you have, and you do have multiple strategies here. I would say Grombrindle makes for a good ally, though you could just as easily ally Valkia if you wanted to. Okay, so declared war on the moon, got some money, get peace. So for 10 turns, you don't want to declare war on Valkia. That's fine enough. 10 turns is going to be good enough to deal with everything else. Now, you could also sell the Rockdale Gorge, take that from the Skaven, because the Skaven do start with it under their control. Take that eventually and sell that to Grumbrindle. You do need a certain level of force to take the Altar of Ultimate Darkness if you want to do that. But regardless, what I like doing in this particular campaign is this. Like, I want to take Grond. The reason I want to take Grond is it's a 4-region province. You will get money, obviously, from fighting Grond. They won't have an army to oppose you in that situation. So it is a good idea for you to do something like this. And as you can see, we finished that. One of the things we can get is like these 2 masters right here. So we're gonna get these 2 masters as quickly as possible. And then we're going to get a Dreadlord, Sword and Shield, the better choice. I'd say Weapon Master in this case. And yes, just lacking a bit of money, but that's not really too much of an issue in this campaign. So it's like just declare war on the Tsingian faction. He's at war with... I would avoid declaring war on... yeah, they're not going to accept that. They would accept that, but they don't want to. They're not willing to accept that. Just look for diplomatic opportunities. You do want the money. I am losing a bit of slaves, but it's not really going to be a problem, considering I'm just going to get to Ashrek soon enough. Okay, so that's turn 2. You want to be in this kind of position. And what is important is you want to get vision with Valkia. So yeah, just losing a few slaves every single turn, not really a problem. I'm going to switch to demand Highborn's hostages. Founded on tyranny. You want exploit feuds for the control. Now, with Malekith, his campaign benefits is he has a huge amount of diplomatic relations benefit, plus 20 with Dark Elves. And he gets an upkeep benefit for Dread Spears, Bleak Swords, and Dark Shards. Crucially, the Dark Shards benefit is the most important one. I would not bother too much with Blackguard of Naggaroth. A couple of them, yeah, for flank protection, but really your army, you want Blackguard Corsairs. Usually speaking, you want Blackguard Corsairs, and you want Dark Shards with shields, specifically. That is really the best Dark Elven army in the game right now. With some Dread Spears. Some Dread Spears for flank protection. Now, what you want to do here is you want to move right here. Now, we can see Valkia, but we are not engaged with her diplomat. Now, we are. And once you do so, like, this is the goal. Like, you want to race Valkia for control of Grond. You've got some time available, that's not really too important. Start moving one of these masters right here, maybe both of them, if you really want to get some more Dark Shards. These buildings will finish construction in just a turn. Declare war on Grond. It will give you some money, more importantly, it will give you some diplomatic relations. And yes, get some deals with Karankar as well. You might be able to confederate Karankar if you play nice with them, because like they're always going to lose against the Leafanar. That's undeniably true. So we got a bunch of slaves. In this case, I'm just going to occupy it because it's not worth it to loot and occupy it. Although you could obviously spark a rebellion deliberately there if you wanted to. So that's turn 3. We've already started marching there, making some level of progress. Now, Malekith with his army can defeat Grond. It wouldn't necessarily be the easiest path, but you can certainly do so. Like, if you want to make your life easier, just, yeah, get the second lord very quickly over here, start critting some Dark Shards with shields, transfer them over to Malekith, and then with this secondary army, eventually what you want to do is go over here to take the Rockdale Gorge, build a barracks there, and sell it to Grumbrindle. That will give you some time. And that time, it's like, Grumbrindle might end up in a war with Valkia. I would say between the two of them, that Grumbrindle is generally speaking the better ally, but keep in mind the downside of that. He's not going to take Chaos Wasteland easily. So the issue you're going to have if you ally Grumbrindle is you're going to have to take out Valkyrie yourself, basically. Which isn't a downside, though. You do want to go for the north. And the Skaven being Skaven. Harkaldra, not really important in this particular situation. Yes, there's some income there. Yes, losing the settlement does suck, but not really important. I'll be honest with you. Like, yeah, you want to go deal with the Leafanar as quickly as possible. So, an army from Naggaroth can march over here. Ignore the auto-resolve result there. And what you want to do is send Malekith with his army right here. And I might want to recruit another lord just to keep up that Dark Shard recruitment potential. Okay. Now here I'm just taking it deliberately. The reason I'm taking it deliberately is so that I can get a rebellion, which I do want. So get another lord. Right here. And with her, get Inspiring Presence, get more Dread Spears, because that's all we can recruit there. I mean, it's always worth recruiting some units, right? Even if they're not necessarily the best. So that's an army of Skaven Slaves Clan Rats. You will lose the settlement, but it's not really too big of a deal. It would be annoying if Grumbrindle took that settlement, but it's going to take Grumbrindle a couple of turns to show up over there. Yeah, this is the annoying factor about like Naggaroth itself as a settlement. It's so vulnerable over here to pressure from Harkaldra, not just from the Skaven in this particular case, though. Yeah, obviously that's the annoyance here, but rather also to Grumbrindle and all that. Okay, so over here, secure the strong position. Grond is going to fall. What you do after that, my recommendation going after a Leafanar one way or another. You could start building a confederation with Karankar. Like, you might be lucky if you keep building units, losing fewer units. You might get very fortunate with respect to that, and I'm just going to turn that off. You might get very fortunate to get Confederation Karankar. Or, if not them, Clarkarond. Hellebron is a difficult task to pull off. But you could play the northern game. Like, Chaos Wasteland is workable for you, and just consider Wolf 1 as more of a long-term plan. Or you can go for Wolf 1. I'd recommend going for Wolf 1 for one reason, is that you kind of want to deal with Estancia, because it's kind of like 50-50 right now, whether or not Estancia wins or Marafi wins. And you obviously don't want Marafi to be destroyed. And yes, the Skaven do what Skaven do. Not really a surprise there. Might get a rebellion in Naggaroth, which is not really a downside as far as I'm personally seeing that situation. And yes, I do have free armies right now, so that's going to pressure me quite significantly over there. Okay, so I don't have enough movement range. So that's fine. We just go for Grond. Right here. That's the unfortunate effect right there. So we're just going to go for Grond, transfer all of these to Malekith's own army, take the city, ensure a rebellion is sparked here. Force march with this particular army. Keep the recruitment up. Again, money is not concerned, especially if you get rebellions, various rebellions happening here. What you want is like exploit feuds, and you can take advantage of the sacrifice of Cain if you want to. Okay, so now it's pretty clear what you do after this point, right? Finish the conquest of Grond. And then just, you know, march south. You could take Hagreef if you really wanted to. Like, but it's kind of not worth it. The Witch King welcomes you. The reason it's not worth it, like you can see, like,
Those who cross.
You can see that Kankar and Clarkarond are like just gonna collapse on their own.
That scent of pain can only be my fellow Druki. This should be good.
So just get all of these agreements sorted out. Get any peace agreements that is suitable to you. Not with Clan Septic, of course. But with Nurgle. So you've got so much vision as Malekith, compared to many campaigns actually in the game. You've got so much vision that you've got opportunities other campaigns don't have from the very beginning over here. By the way, one of the things I could have done over here would have been to ensure to get a Black Arc as quickly as possible by building the slave pens structure over there in order to ensure success with respect to that. Regardless, Valician will probably take the Great Arena right there, in point of fact. Like, I'm not interested in wasting time with Grand. Rebellion will trigger here if I do take the Great Arena. If I loot and occupy it, Rebellion is almost certainly going to happen. And getting a Rebellion, huge upside, lots of slaves, lots of potential, and yeah, just take Harkaldra before Grumbrindle shows up. It will take Grumbrindle a certain number of turns, so you should be able to retake Harkaldra if you lose it, and there's no guarantee that the Skaven will do what they pulled off here. In fact, it's pretty damn rare for the Skaven to do something like this.
Onwards! What lies ahead?
Can we do it?
Death to all enemies! They
Well,
belong
some
to
slaves, thank you for your service.
me. For the Witch King.
So that is a fairly rare occurrence that did happen over there. And now Rebellion next turn, as we want it to happen deliberately.
Speak.
Just gonna march this army right here. And if you want to develop Grand better, you can always get the slave drive. Now, there is a chance that the Rebellion will attack the Grand itself, but even if you lose Grand as a settlement, it's just a tier 1 settlement, so do you care? I would say you shouldn't too much. Like, really, don't. And don't use any commandment until... Not that one, actually. That's kind of useless. Don't use any commandment until you've got that Black Arc. Like, I could have gotten it already if I had, instead of, you know, maybe getting the Marble Quarry, or instead of getting the Crafting District, I had chosen to go for the Slave Pens over there. Just the perspective on that. So turn 7, already in a fairly safe position over here in the campaign. Now I can go deal with the Skaven, I can build 2 stacks, I can get the 3rd stack with the Black Arc once I do get that. Not a problem, I've got a good amount of slaves for various rituals. And now I can go deal with Alif and R. Valkia is going to leave me alone for the time being. You could pay Valkia for a non-aggression pact early on. Like, when you declare war on Grand, instead of getting some money from her, you could instead pay her for a non-aggression pact, which would prevent her from just declaring war on you out of the blue. I mean, it's typically speaking not out of the blue. It depends on a number of factors, but basically,
possession of the circlet.
Yeah. So we get a quest battle for Malekith right there, as expected. This particular force.
Dark Lord.
Okay, we're just gonna move this force right here. And then transfer those dark shards.
Do not ask that. Ruthless.
And then disband her.
Favored of the Witch King.
And that should be enough to take that. Malekith can go deal with the rebellion now. And get more slaves for instant construction. Though, I would probably not recommend doing that right there. Though with the quest bell as well available at this particular point. And by the way, this quest bell, like if you've got this many dark shards, it's not really a hard one. And that will give you a good amount of slaves to use. Now Grumbrindle has taken that particular settlement. And there we go, slave pens constructed. And that makes the black arc available. And now you can leave this province, go deal with other things.
Acquit yourself well. Welcome.
Pay attention to the situation that's developing here, because opportunities might arise that you can take advantage of. Like if you want to fight Grumbrindle and ally Valkia, you can. Just bear in mind that you're gonna have some issues with doing so. Specifically, like, if you defeat Grumbrindle, you're going to encounter Katep, and for whatever reason, Valkia and Katep do not get along well at all, so if you're not aware of this, yeah, just be careful with respect. Actually, I'm gonna get growth right here. Be careful with respect to that, because, like, if you're thinking, like, oh, I'll ally Valkia and Katep, yeah, that's, not really gonna work out well for you. Gotta decide who you're gonna ally. As I said, like, I don't think the Warriors of Chaos in general make great allies. Like, Sigvald is kind of the exception to the rule over here in quite a lot of ways. Valkia taking the Palace of Ruin, that usually doesn't happen, I might add. So now I could get a trade agreement with her, but it's probably not a great idea to do so right now. And yeah, we're getting some Black Ark Corsairs. Like, could have done it earlier. Actually, could recruit them for this particular army just to make my life a bit easier. So just recruiting on that army. Like, one of the things you could obviously do is just start recruiting an army in Harkaldra from the very beginning and assume that Malekith is going to be able to deal with Grond on his own. And if he needs reinforcements, send in just one lord so he can tackle. Like, you do want to send a lord from Naggaroth to help him conquer one of the settlements. But Malekith can handle Grond on his own. That's because Grond has no army. And the only army they might have is in Ashrak, which you will easily defeat. Like, it's going to be a couple of units that they ultimately do have from the very beginning over here. And again, you can deal with that. The way you should view this, I would say, is like, your concern is not necessarily the difficulty of the early game. It's getting the favorable diplomatic situation. Now, you could ignore Grond if you wanted to. Like, you could ignore Grond, let Valkia braze it to the ground if you wanted to, and go take the Altar of Ultimate Darkness, if that's your choice, really. Like, if you want to do that, sure, go ahead. Nothing's really going to stop you from doing something like that. And then you can, of course, go and either deal with Grumbrindle. So just a peace treaty with them. As you can see, that there's various agreements available, but nothing yet with Karankar. They're not quite willing just yet
Mistress of Skulls
to accept. They're not quite willing just yet to accept the Confederation.
Tyrant of Naggaroth.
That's fine. And yes, just gonna use a bunch of these slaves to get a bunch of instant construction. And over here, I guess I would start constructing of the Witch Elves, or I would get the growth building. Or I could move the barracks to another settlement, from the capital to a different settlement. But I'm gonna get building slots. Like, that's a nice thing about the city like Naggaroth, you do have those building slots available to you. So now Rokto Gorge is available. And yeah, you can just sweep around from the north, deal with the Skaven in the Rocto Gorge. If Grumbrindle takes Rocto Gorge before you, he may not. If he does it, just take the settlement south, build a barracks there. Yep, as you can see, he did. Build a barracks there, and take it from the ogre, says he won't be at war with the ogres. He doesn't hate you. In point of fact, he's necessarily, like, Grumbrindle's not necessarily going to declare war on you, especially if you're really powerful. Like, if you minimize the losses you take in battles, the way you do so is, like, ideally you auto-resolve field battles, because you might take some more damage in field battles, especially if you're dealing with any kind of magic users. You auto-resolve field battles, unless it's a big one, right, and does a lot of damage. But basically, you just want to auto-resolve the battles that are going to do minimal casualties. Okay. So here, we're just going to take those dark shards, those Black Arc Corsairs, and in point of fact, what we're going to do here is march south. While she marches here, we get more dark shards. And go over here, like we want to take the mountain.
Come, fellow Druki.
And as you can see, the Confederation with Clarkarond is available. Not the best Confederation, I admit. Not necessarily the very best Confederation that could be available, but is at least available. Tarax does have a tendency right now to just, well, sit on his ass, more or less. So you can just show up over here, like, disable income, because you're going to get a rebellion very quickly in this particular situation. Although you could just march down south here to deal with Tarax, which you certainly have the capability for, and leave others to take these particular settlements. And we do have an army here, a minor one, so I'm just going to dismiss that particular army. Get rid of the Shade recruitment, because we already have it in another settlement. Yeah, Malekith starts with Grief when you're
Enchantress. Limitless.
When you're not playing him.
Careful! Only fools make enemies of the god touched.
Cruel.
Bring up. Careful. We have.
You could also trigger a war between Hellebron and Valkia. Though Hellebron is so powerful because she's got the really strong economy, she's so powerful that she might win that particular war and end up being strong. Like, that's kind of the annoyance of, like, trying to confederate Hellebron. It's like, you can confederate the minor factions and gain a lot of territory relatively quickly as Malekith. That's not really an issue. But actually confederating Hellebron, the one faction you do want to confederate, is tricky. And after this point, like, yeah, just take this mountain here. You can see Grumbrindle. He does dislike me, but it's not so firm. And the Skaven are also defeated. Some factions might take these two settlements over here. You do want to hold on to Hagrief, because Hagrief does give you the face of Hagrief, which is quite very damn useful. But yeah, Tarax does have a tendency of saying passively, if you force march all the way to his capital, you can get there very quickly and get the rebellion there, while your secondary army goes and takes the Temple of Cain. She might declare war on you, but in this case it does seem she's declared war on the Dracula Coven. Like, your best bet after this point is to go deal with Elifanar, deal with Silostra, and then go to Ulfon, while trying to manage the situation in the north best you possibly can. You might avoid getting a military alliance with Grumbrindle, just because he's probably going to end up in a war with Valkia, and you don't want to get involved in a war with Valkia. And just get, like, a non-aggression, military access, trade agreement with Grumbrindle, as opposed to anything more, dedicated, if you will, between you and him. Now, let me talk about something else with respect to Malekith. Yes, we're gonna take a bit of attrition damage. That's fine. Like, I'm not concerned about Tarx's army. The cast corruption that Tarx is doing, that's the reason we're getting that. And yes, I am losing some money over here, but again, not really a big concern right now. I dare argue.
Welcome to the...
This is no place.
And if I need more army, I can always get a peace agreement with these guys. In fact, I think I will. Don't make any deals with ogres, it's not worth it. That said, you could go to Sinnelleos and declare war on the Scourge of Cain, because they will almost certainly give you a peace tree, though you might want to wait one turn. Now, beyond these kind of moves, and again, it's not the only plan. Like, you could rush Grombrindal if you want to. You could rush Valkia. Or you could go for Grombrindal first, defeat him, sell his territory to Katep, and then march north on Valkia through the Munk territory, and then take her out. That's a path. Regardless of that, there are, the last thing I want to talk about here is, like, Malekith's skill line. He does get a Witch King, so he's going to get +8 control in his province. He gets 15% construction cost and reduces enemy leadership by 8. That is pretty damn crazy. -8. -8, basically what it does is, like, if we look at the AI stats modifier and we crank this up to highest, 8, he's basically, like, if you're playing with this to the highest level, he's removing that leadership modifier. And obviously he's removing the leadership modifier from sieges, and even reducing leadership. Now, he does have a choice between Tyrant and War Leader. Now, if we look at Tyrant, you get 1 control, income 5%, income from slaves 5%, control local province, 15 diplomatic relations with Dark Elves, 4 control local province, 25 grove construction costs, construction time, and income from all buildings. This is useful, but you also have War Leader. War Leader reduces upkeep by 10% in all armies, income from post-battle leadership, casualties captured post-battle, income from looting settlements, sacking settlements, Triumph of Evil. So both of these are pretty strong. Personally, while I do obviously value that 15 diplomatic relations, because it will make Confederation with... It will make Confederation with, oh, Grombrindal. Hello, Grombrindal. This might happen, like, I kind of screwed up over here. But that's fine. Like, if you have to fight Grombrindal, over here for this territory, so be it. Like, here, I just decide to prioritize dealing with Tarx. You could always take this settlement in the mountains and sell it to him. And if you have a barracks there, he will accept that particular trade. So that's not really a concern too much there, even if he does take the Temple of Cain. He might very well decide to do so, and he certainly is going to do so. But if he does take it, again, not really a concern. Like, in point of fact, Confederate Cleric Arand might not be your best choice. But yeah, you do have choices over here if he does something like that. Like, go after the ogres. Like, seriously, just go after the ogres. They won't stop you. Get the bunch. Like, in this case, I would just get a bunch more Dread Spears. Take the deep.
You stand before the supreme.
Go after the ogres. Yeah, fight the battle with the ogres who just paid the colonization cost for me. How very generous of them. But yeah, go after the ogres. Take their territory. Build barracks, sell that to Grombrindal. He will trade. He's very likely to trade the territory to you in exchange for that. Like, just because of faction. Yeah, let's get that. Just because of faction beat you to the punch, so to speak, it does not necessarily mean anything really horrible is happening. So over here, just gonna get rid of some Dread Spears. I do want to pay attention. Yeah, I kind of need to force march here, right? So
Favored of the Witch King.
Bit of a waste of time in that respect, but not really too big of a problem.
Awaiting command.
She does have 17 units, so she should be able to tackle that. Gonna enable income right there. And then you want to obviously get ballast, business, and all that kind of stuff unlocked. And also move the move the Black Arc, because you want like the Black Arc to affect this radius, and yeah, start getting more and more recruits. I could send one of these masters to Marathi, start getting diplomatic vision with them. Like Larkarand is going to be defeated over here. And then Alifanar is likely to declare war on me, which is not necessarily, which is not surprising. Scourge of Cain still not willing to offer me any real money, so it's not really worth declaring war on them. Get Chief Master. There's a bunch of ogres, but again, not really a concern. Like, if you just want to stack the odds. Ogres just don't have a good army. Now, of course, this is without any mods that makes them super powerful. Well, ogres do have a good army. It's just the basic ogre bulls are not going to withstand a bunch of dread spears and dark shards. The thing is, ogres actually have really good units in their roster, not their basic ones necessarily. Though some of the basic ones can be good enough, but obviously, yeah, it's a tier 1 army versus a tier 2 army. So they're not really going to stand much of a chance there. And I'm going to move that Black Arc just very close there. And after that, like, once Alifanar is finished, and they even ran away because they know they don't stand a chance. Once Alifanar is finished with Karankar, he is going to very likely declare war on you or on Silostra. If you've taken Clark around, he's going to be declaring war on you most likely. In that situation. If you become too strong, he'll declare war on you. If you become too weak, he will declare war on you. I'm not sure what the hell, like, you know, I expected many things and some things I didn't think would happen in patch 4.2, but can we talk about like the Beastman AI just sitting on its ass doing absolutely nothing? Just something I wish just something I kind of wish to mention over here, because it's like kind of bizarre to actually notice its behavior, if you will.
Great more forbids.
Destruction lies beyond.
And yeah, just start getting stuff. Is gonna be annoying, of course, over there.
Madam Silostra, dear
Carve.
You have done well to make it this.
Me.
Approach, but know very well.
Con.
Sing the sun.
Moors.
Right, so Alifanar is finished right there.
What? We have a deal.
Move the fleet in that. And you might get a bit of luck. Not in this case, unfortunately.
Dread Lord of the Druki.
And then, yeah, take Storikar.
Your threat must be ended.
And you could go deal with the Sisters of Twilight. They aren't especially aggressive as a faction.
Carve and.
Keep that in mind.
Fear. What?
Take advantage of any war that's happening that you might wish to take advantage of.
Master Butcher. Witch King.
And while I might be out of money here, it's really not going to be too big of a downside. The slave issue is obviously the bigger problem. But regardless, just go deal with the ogres. As I said, build the barracks, sell that to Grumbrindle. He's very likely going to trade it. And if he doesn't, well... if he doesn't trade it, well, just take it from him for military force. This was a bit unfortunate because the Skavens sending their army against me meant that Grumbrindle was able to take their capital faster, which complicated my plans. Like, if the AI is suiciding against you, don't be surprised if another AI faction is capable of taking advantage of that situation for their own particular benefit, which is precisely what happened here. Now, it does seem like I'm not going to get a rebellion in this particular settlement. Malekith's control benefit is so significant that, yeah, he kind of nullifies the chance of getting a rebellion, doesn't he?
Noble of Naggaroth. Next, destruction. Prepare the raiders.
And that will be good enough right there. Don't have enough money for, well, much of anything else, really.
Fear my malice.
The court of Naggaroth.
As you say.
Artisan of all that I desire.
If I really needed money there,
An audience.
I could get it. By getting a peace agreement with the subtle torture. And here, just get... I like to get Chief Master, and then like to get Sea Dragon Cloak, get Growth. And yeah, I could construct it into a tier 3 settlement if I had the financial capability for it. I do not.
Malevolent Lord.
Favor, you shall speak.
Oh, Karen Carr is still alive?
Speak
That's...
well.
What? I guess just some army on the sea or something like that. But that's actually good for me because it means that...
Lord of the Black Court.
It means that Alifanar is not just gonna declare war instantly on me. And yeah, after this point, just get both my armies. And... Yep, there we go. He's also at war with Silasra by the looks of it. Then you can see the ogres with their army right there. Gonna get a rebellion. Post-battle loot from the mountain will keep me going. The ogres might actually have 2 stacks. But not really the biggest problem. Like, they're gonna have Noblars and Ogre Bulls. That's not really an army that can defeat Darkshard, the Red Spear army.
What violent delights! Death to all enemies! Feast on your spoils!
Excellent.
My axe yearns to be plunged into your skull.
And as I said, you can get this from him via diplomacy. And he's at war with Katep. As sort of expected. He'll either declare war or you want Katep. Why would he not declare war on you? Doesn't Grumbrindle really hate you? He does, but here's the thing to understand. He does hate you, of course. Undeniably so. At the same time, we're just gonna get the barracks. At the same time, the one thing you gotta understand about that is while he does despise you, without exception, the one thing to remember is the simple fact that Grumbrindle and you are fighting the same faction. That creates a certain relationship, if you will. So if you're fighting the same faction, even if you have a significant aversion against each other, that will create a positive diplomatic relation. It's not necessarily going to be a very strong relationship, to be certain, but it will be a relationship. And that's something you can take advantage of. He didn't even rebuild the settlement, damn bastard. Okay, fair enough. Whatever. We'll just deal with it. Actually, we'll just go deal with ogres and then get out of here. I could have delayed one turn. I mean, I guess I was a bit too fast. That's the reason he didn't do anything there. And as for the Sisters of Twilight here, well, you could make them your next target, but I kind of am focused on dealing with Alifanar in this situation. And like, once you do fight a single battle against elves, against high elves, like once you win a single battle against high elves, you'll end up getting quite a bit of money, and with this entire territory under your control, it's like, yeah, just go mass legions to deal with Ulfwine. Or go mass legions to help out Marathi against the Stankia, if you so desire. That is your choice, really. You could take the mountains to the west, though I would not, like, obviously, I would not bother with mountains. It's not ideal, because it just, like, delays your construction. Like, your construction is so freaking ridiculous in the mountains, it's not even funny to deal with it. So I'd recommend, like, if you're not gonna ally Grumbrindle, like, selling territory to Valka can be complicated, because she doesn't have a tendency to take it herself, so Katep, really.
Dreadlord, awaiting command. Carnage and bloodshed await. More slaves are required. I march onwards.
My cruelty knows no limits.
Curious. So I sold him a barracks there. Bear in mind, I sold him a settlement to the barracks, but he didn't get the barracks. That's a bit, I gotta admit, bizarre. From my perspective. Yeah, just gonna get some casualties post-battle.
Morathi, make plain your
And
ambition,
inevitably
Druki,
she ends up at
as I
war
make
with
plain mine.
Astankia.
Not one.
Divine.
Who wins that?
immortality.
Hard to say. Really hard to say. Might require a direct intervention, might not. Like, you can send an army there to help out Marathi against the Stankia, but like at this point, like, yeah, I've gotten 14 territories, so close to halfway there, right? In 15 turns. And then, yeah, I'll capture a bunch of this very, very quickly once I manage to send all of my armies right there. Money is not a concern. Slaves are a huge concern, but I do have enough for a couple of turns at least. Yeah, it's like, you don't care about money, you care about the slave labor, because if you start running out of them, it's like, it's gonna become a problem. Ooh, there is a full stack. Like, it's going for my Black Ark. Yeah, Leafanar does have this silly tendency to go via the sea. Don't get involved in a war with Katep or Grumbrindle or anything like that until you've sorted everything out. And eventually you do want to, what I would do here, like, yeah, obviously deal with the Leafanar. Maybe send one army south towards the Sister of Twilight. Though keep in mind, Sisters of Twilight, pretty powerful. Especially if they're in their big tree and they have an entire garrison defending them. Pretty powerful. Very worth destroying because they give you so much, because taking their tree down gives you a lot of money. Who will win between Grumbrindle and Katep? Faction potential. Can't really answer it. I would put my money generally on Grumbrindle. Personally.
Feared by all.
So if this attacks here, that's a bit of a problem, to be certain. You can see the public order is starting to improve over here. We got another settlement we could turn into
Slaneshi.
When Loic dances, so shall I.
into a tier 2 one. That army might attack. One of the things you do want is aristocratic name of power because, well, you can get things like this. Those Dark Elf titles are, jeez, that's incredible. Anyway, that's all. Costin signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more. This is one path in terms of how to play Malekith. If you're wondering what I'm gonna do there with regards to that fleet, it's just, I could flat out ignore it. Like, if I want to save my navy, if I want to save my Black Ark, I could just take the sea lane and let them sack the settlement. Or I can force march Malekith next to the settlement, so, or into the water, ideally. Like, obviously force marching is not ideal, but, you know, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, right? And maybe I can even attack that if I have enough movement with Malekith. While my second army comes in, eventually both these armies merge. Then we get to experience Be'lakor. Oh, Be'lakor, always such a freaking annoyance. Okay, so I'm just gonna send Malekith into the sea. And we want to fight this battle. Like, again, it's not ideal.
I approve of these dark deeds.
But she's gonna run away. And thankfully for us, she's running away within range. And we control the sea here. So effectively, Levanar is done.
Draw your blades, we fight. I require
Very few slaves there. Very, very damn few. Like, I don't know what, like, it feels like they've changed the odd result a bit for the Dark Elves, because, like, you used to get a lot more slaves. But yeah, doesn't matter still. Because we just completed our short campaign victory condition. And now we can start getting everything. Literally everything.
Madam,
Depravity.
There was only vengeance.
I could have even gotten sacrifice to Cain before the battle, maybe. Or probably not, because, yeah, I didn't have enough of that. Get more Dark Shard, get more of those. And yeah, we can get casualty replenishment and unleash the fury of Cain upon Levanar. Get a lot of money in return. Costin, signing out.